Picture this: a darkened room, a flickering light, and a single image projected onto a wall. Now, another image, slightly different, and another, and another. Suddenly, the image moves. A simple stick figure takes a step, a ball bounces, a horse gallops across the screen. This isn't just a trick of the light. It's magic. It's the birth of animation, the very essence of what we call cartoons. But this magic didn't just appear out of thin air. Its story is a sprawling, century-spanning epic of art, technology, and pure, unadulterated imagination. So, what exactly is a cartoon? At its core, it's the art of illusion. It's the illusion of movement created by a rapid succession of static images. Our brains have a funny little quirk called persistence of vision. When you see an image, its impression lingers on your retina for a fraction of a second. If another image appears before that first one completely fades, your brain stitches them together, creating a seamless sense of motion. Animators are the modern-day magicians who exploit this quirk. They don't draw movement, they draw the asterisk, potential asterisk for movement. Let's break down how this magic is made, frame by painstaking frame. It all starts with a story. A simple idea evolves into a storyboard, a comic book-like sequence of drawings that maps out the entire narrative. This is the blueprint. From there, character designers breathe life into the cast, defining their look, their personality, their every quirk. Then comes the layout, where artists design the world these characters will inhabit, crafting the backgrounds and setting the stage. Now, for the real heavy lifting, the animation itself. A key animator, the master artist, draws the most crucial poses in a sequence. These are called the keyframes. Think of a character about to jump. The key animator draws the crouch, the peak of the leap, and the landing. These are the pillars of the action. But what about all the frames in between? That's where the in-betweeners come in. These artists meticulously draw every single frame that connects one keyframe to the next, smoothing out the motion. For just 1 second of classic animation, you might need 24 individual drawings. That's 24 drawings for a single second of screen time. Imagine the dedication for a full-length feature film. Once the drawings are done, they're traditionally transferred onto clear sheets of plastic called cells. These cells are then painted, usually on the back, to keep the lines crisp on the front. Finally, each painted cell is placed over a pre-painted background and photographed one frame at a time. The sound, from dialogue to music to that classic asterisk, BOing asterisk effect, is recorded separately and synchronized with the visuals in post-production. It's an incredibly labor-intensive process, a symphony of artists working in perfect harmony. The roots of this art form stretch back further than you might think. We can see its spirit in ancient cave paintings depicting animals with multiple legs to suggest motion, or in Egyptian murals showing wrestlers in sequential poses. But the real journey begins in the 19th century with a flurry of optical toys. Devices like the phenakistoscope and the zoetrope, spinning discs and drums with slits that created loops of simple animation, captivated Victorian audiences. They were novelties, but they planted a seed. That seed sprouted in the early 20th century with pioneers like J. Stuart Blackton and Emile Cole Blackton. Humorous Phases of Funny Faces from 1906 is often considered one of the first animated films, featuring chalk drawings that seemingly came to life on a blackboard. But it was Winsor McCay who elevated animation from a novelty to an art form. His 1914 film Gertie the Dinosaur was a revelation. McCay didn't just make a drawing move, he gave it a personality. Gertie was charming, mischievous, and she interacted with McCay himself during his live vaudeville performances. For the first time, an animated character felt asterisk alive asterisk. Then, in 1928, a certain mouse changed everything. Walt Disney's Steamboat Willie wasn't the first cartoon, nor was it the first to feature its star, Mickey Mouse, but it was the first to have perfectly synchronized sound. The whistles, the music, the sound effects, they weren't just background noise. They were part of the story. This was a quantum leap. Disney's studio refined the process, developing techniques like the multiplane camera, which added a sense of depth and dimension to the flat animated world. This golden age gave us not just Mickey, but Donald Duck, Goofy, and in 1937, the world's first feature-length animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The idea of a cartoon movie was a huge gamble, derided by many as Disney's folly. But it was a monumental success. proving that animation could tell complex emotional stories that resonated with audiences of all ages. While Disney was crafting fairy tales, other studios were carving out their own niches. The Fleischer Studios gave us the surreal, anarchic energy of Betty Boop and the heroic adventures of Popeye and Superman. Warner Bros., Looney Tunes, and Merry Melodies unleashed a cast of characters who were smart, satirical, and delightfully chaotic. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and the Roadrunner weren't just funny. They were breaking the fourth wall and deconstructing the very medium of animation long before it was cool. Their fast-paced, gag-driven style was a direct contrast to Disney's realism, showing the incredible versatility of the art form. Animation's importance cannot be overstated. Cartoons have a unique power to simplify complex ideas, to satirize our world, and to transport us to places unbound by the laws of physics or reality. They can be educational tools, powerful propaganda, or pure escapist fantasy. Think about the instructional films produced during World War II, or the way Schoolhouse Rock taught a generation of kids grammar and civics through catchy tunes. Animation is a universal language. You do need to understand a word of dialogue to laugh at Tom and Jerry's slapstick antics. The arrival of television in the mid-20th century created a voracious new appetite for content, but TV budgets were a fraction of what film studios had. This led to the rise of limited animation, a technique pioneered by studios like Hanna-Barbera to save time and money. They reused backgrounds, animated fewer frames per second, and focused action on specific body parts, like just a character's mouth moving while the rest of their body stayed still. This style gave us classics like the Flintstones, the Jetsons, and Scooby-Doo. While not as fluid as the Golden Age films, these shows became cultural cornerstones, defining Saturday morning for generations of children. The landscape of animation has continued to evolve at a dizzying pace. The 1980s and 90s saw an animation renaissance, with films like The Little Mermaid and The Lion King blending classic techniques with emerging computer technology. At the same time, a little studio called Pixar was quietly working on a revolution. Their short films demonstrated the incredible potential of computer-generated imagery, or CGI. And in 1995, they unleashed Toy Story, the first ever fully computer-animated feature film. This was another seismic shift. CGI throughout the rulebook. No more cells, no more paint, no more cameras. Animators now worked in a three-dimensional digital space, building models, creating virtual skeletons called rigs, and manipulating them frame by frame on a computer. This didn't make animation easier, in fact. It introduced a whole new set of complex skills, but it opened up a universe of possibilities. Suddenly, creators could achieve textures, lighting, and camera movements that were once impossible. The world of Finding Nemo's ocean, or the intricate fur on Sully from Monsters, Inc., were a testament to this new frontier. Today, we live in a new golden age of animation, one defined by diversity. The hyper-realistic CGI of Pixar and DreamWorks coexists with the stunning comic book aesthetic of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Traditional 2D animation is still celebrated in films from studios like Ghibli in Japan, whose works like Spirited Away are masterpieces of hand-drawn artistry. Stop motion, another classic technique, continues to enchant us in the films of Laika, like Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings, where every frame is a physical photograph of a puppet moved by infinitesimal amounts, and animation is no longer just for kids. Sophisticated, adult-oriented shows like BoJack Horseman and Rick and Morty use the freedom of the medium to explore complex themes of depression, philosophy, and existential dread, all while delivering sharp comedy. The internet and streaming platforms have democratized animation, allowing independent creators from all over the world to share their unique visions with a global audience. From a simple flicker on a cave wall to the immersive digital worlds of today, the story of cartoons is a story of human ingenuity. It's a testament to our undying desire to make the inanimate live, to tell stories, and to create magic from thin air. Every frame is a labor of love, a tiny piece of a puzzle that, when assembled, creates the wonderful illusion of life. It's an art form that is constantly reinventing itself, and its future is as limitless as the imagination that fuels it. If you enjoyed this journey through the history of animation, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And for more deep dives into the stories behind our favorite things, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.